On the previous course, we saw how to create components and how to use them. And now we want to pass data to these components, and we would like to know how we can work on sharing data between different pieces of UI. Okay, so remember, we've got this header.jsx here that got a random number. And if I call several times header, we've got a different number. Why? Because every time we call the component, it's going to trigger here this function with a random number. Well, basically what we would like to do is to get the same number. We would like to actually share some data. To do that, we use what we call props. Props is just like a funnel or tunnel where we pass data from a parent to a children. So why do we talk about parents and children? Well, it's easy to understand. App.jsx is calling here header. So app is the parent and header is the children. Okay? So basically header is the child. Here I say children because we got several times header. And I could have indefinitely header being called, okay? But header here is the child of app. So with props, we can pass data from parent to children. To pass data from children to parent, we will need to look at the events, thing that we are going to look later. Okay, so now let's just remove here, okay, this math random. And up here, we are going to create a function called random here, or a function, a variable, we can call a variable called math.random here. And we can display the number random, and we can see that we got the random number. Now, how do I pass the random number to every header that I got down there? It's through props. So what I can do here, I'm going to just remove all the headers, and we're going to do again the operation after. What I can do is to pass here a variable. It's not a variable actually. Here we want to pass the random variable that is up here. It's actually an attribute or a props. So here, what I want to do is to put random number, okay? And I can call it also random if I want to. And what I need to do is to put here the brackets is equal to what? Random is equal to random. And of course, I do that now because after I'm going to show you how to make it shorter. Okay, so now we got random that has been passed. I need to go to header. The thing is that if I put random here between brackets, exactly like what I did here, it's not going to happen because random is not defined here. I need a way to catch random coming from the parent to the children. So here in my header function, as a parameter of my function, what I need to do is to catch the props. And props is the main actually parameter that is coming from here. So what I can do is to here write random is equal to props.random. And if I do that, will I get the same number? Yes, I will. Suddenly, I got my props.random. So here, if I don't catch the props on my child, I will never get any data that I will pass from the parent. Okay? So here it's a bit dumb. I can make it shorter. I can remove props because props is an object and props is receiving random. So now I can remove random and suddenly I get exactly the same. So in this object, I could have as many props as I want, as many variables that I would pass from the parent. Coming back from the parent, we can see that random is equal to random like this. If I remove random like this, does it work? No. What I will need to do is always to pass here my props like this called random. Of course, here I give random, but it could be whatever the name I would like to write, it will work. To make it shorter, what I can do is just to open an object inside here, my header component. It's not an object, actually, it's a spread operator. And I would put 3 points. And again, here it's going to be the object. In yellow, you can see here that we got the object. So I'm going to zoom a little bit. In yellow, we got the object. In blue, we got the spread operator. And inside here, what I can do is to make a space. And I can use the random variable declared on the parent to appear here. And suddenly we can see that we passed actually the props directly in here. That's great. So what can I pass as a prop from the parent to the children? So here we've got a number. Let's say that I'm going to put a name, okay? So if I put Guillaume, suddenly I got Guillaume. All right, it works. What if I put an array with Guillaume and then I put another name like John and then I put James? If I save, here, exactly like we saw before, we can pass here an array, but it will understand the array as a string without a comma, without spaces and stuff. So what I can do here, instead of random, let's say that we're going to change that, and now we're going to put names. Suddenly we don't get names down here, so I need to put here, I could keep random, for instance. Even if I'm not going to use it, it's going to stay like this. Here what I could do is to loop through names, okay, and here I would have a name, and I could have my span, let's say span here, and I would have my name, and of course I always need in a loop to put my key. So I'm going to put my name here, and I need to close here, and suddenly we've got our names that are next to each other like this. So I need to remove this random here, Guillaume, John, James, whatever. Okay? Now, another thing, let's say that sometime you really need those props to be fulfilled. Let's say that even if there is no random, we would like to show a number. So what I can do here is just to put random 0, right? So if I put random 0 and I don't push anything through random, we will get 0 here. Can I do this? Can I do math random and I save? Yes, I can. By default, I can put a variable. However, if I put here a random value, so let's say that here I'm going to go to the line. If I put a random 12, the priority will come from the data from the parent and not from the children, okay? So here I can have a basic value, but I'm not obliged. If I don't put anything here, we get random that is written in here. Okay, so we can pass array. We can pass, for instance, true, and here we've got an error because, of course, here we've got this example that is not good. So if I put here, let's say it's not going to be a name. I'm going to let the names like this. I'm going to put is available on true. I want to pass is available, so I go down here and I put is available as an object down there. I need to declare it. You will need to declare it all the time. Is available on true. It doesn't appear. Exactly like we saw before, React cannot display a boolean like this. Vue will display it probably as a string, but you cannot display it like this. All right, now let's try to push inside our header a component. So remember, we got this component here. I'm going to remove all of this. Let's say that I will have a component prop, and let's say that we're going to push header. If I remove all of that and I try to put basically my component, and let's say it's going to be component down here, will it work? I'm going to push component like this. I'm going to save, and I'm going to update. If I open my console, we can see here that functions are not valid as React child. So this may happen if you return a component instead of a component here. So let's try to push it as a real component like this. And if I save, I got that. I can remove that. I got that, a new paragraph. Inside my header, I try to put a header. So let's say that I'm going to try to put it as I would do with a real component, and I do that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work if you try to do this. So if you try instead to call the function component like this, here we would see component is not a function. So basically, you would not pass a component through a prop. It will not work. So Guillaume, what is the solution to pass a component to another component if I would like to do something dynamic? It's going to come in the next lesson about the children. From now on, what we want to continue to work on is on the props and to pass data from parents to children. Okay, so let's come back. Let's say that as a name, I would have Guillaume. Okay, and I'm going to come back here. And instead, I would have the name. And here, I just want to put the name as Guillaume. Okay, so suddenly we've got this. We've got our header. I'm going to remove here the names and everything. I'm just going to put the name like this. And there we go, we get Guillaume. Can I pass this name to another component, such as my menu. Here I got my menu, okay, my menu.jsx, and I would like to pass the data from app to header to menu. Is that possible? Absolutely, you would do exactly the same thing. So I would open here my menu into spread operator, my props inside my menu component inside a spread operator, and I would have name. And if I go here and I got name, this is a menu for, and let's say that I would put here name, okay, I would save. There we go. We got a huge intrication here between several components. So let's take a look. Here I'm going to put a class app to my main. To my header, I'm going to put a class header. And to my menu, I'm going to put a class menu. All right. So now let's look at it and let's just inspect how we've built our application. We've got down here the root. And if I look at the root, the first thing that we've got, it's our main class app. Inside main class app, so here it's a first component. Then we've got our header. It's a second component. Then we've got our menu. It's a third component. And we've got here Guillaume that is coming from the first component. So if I come back here, I could put Guillaume coming from app.jsx. Here we can see Guillaume coming from app.jsx. The data comes from the first component. So from parent to children, we distributed our value name here, actually our string Guillaume coming from app.jsx. So it's totally possible to push data from the top to the bottom. The difficulty now for you will be to pass it from the bottom to the top. Let me tell you something, and I want to end on this about the props. It's complicated at some point to work too much with props. You would avoid to get too many components that receive the same props. Most of the time, this level here of complication here, from 1 to 3 level like this, it's for me the maximum. Avoid to distribute the data too deep through components because you could have side effects, such as the data is not retrieved the right way. Normally it does, but at some point you don't want to have such a complexity inside your app, okay? So what you want to do is to use props, use the flexibility of the props and the reusability of the props, but you would like to do it with precaution. Okay, last thing that I want to show you, of course, now my header is receiving a name, okay? Here we can see that we got the name coming here from the props, and so this name can change anytime I want. So if I go on app, and now I'm on app, I'm going to put here a header for Guillaume. Okay, this is a menu for Guillaume, but let's say that I would have a second header, which would be completely dumb, but it's possible. Here we can see that this is a menu from James. And now if I want to switch again, this is a menu for, let's say, Josh. Josh tried coding, which is really present now inside my videos. So we got a menu for Guillaume, for James, for Josh. This is how props works. And you can reuse this component and pass as many props as you want in order not to copy-paste the code everywhere, but to turn your code into reusable pieces.